Look, I don't know where you guys have been, but I was here the whole time. So guys, maybe you can relate to this. The other day I pulled up to a stoplight and I was listening, just rocking out to some of my favorite jams. I was snapped back to attention when suddenly my car started to move. Frantically, I tried to figure out what the problem was. Was my foot on the gas? Were my brakes out? Was somebody pushing me? What's going on? I squeezed down even harder on my brakes, but much to my horror, I started to accelerate. I may or may not have crapped a little in my pants. But then, just as suddenly, the world was right again. I realized I actually hadn't moved at all. I was still just there at the stop line, my face flushed with fear and terror. Relief finally washed over me as I realized I wasn't in fact going to die. So what happened? Well, my brain had subconsciously selected the U-Haul next to me as a reference point for my positional awareness. What? Meaning that I was judging my position based on the mistaken assumption that the U-Haul was going to remain stationary and had it all together, resulting in the panic, stress, and the alleged shart. But we actually do this a lot, and not just as it relates to our relative position. In fact, we are constantly comparing ourselves with the things and the people around us to establish who and what and where we are. And to a certain degree, this model of looking at the world seems to work. In psychology, they call it the social comparison theory. It's the observation that we tend to look at other people in order to evaluate ourselves. There's a lot of criteria we look at to get a clearer picture, like looks, opinions, abilities, and accomplishments. But is this really a good way to establish our identity and self-worth? I don't know. Usually goes a little something like this. Wow, that guy's really buff. Wonder if I'm buff. Not as buff as him. Hey, you know what? My wife is way hotter than that guy's wife. Probably because I'm a total stud. Whoa! Did you see that car? Wow, that's a really nice car. That guy must be really successful in life. I'm not that successful in life. In fact, I'm a failure. Actually, some research has been done on this topic, and what is discovered is that when we habitually compare ourselves to others, more often than not, we come out the loser. And as you might expect, this correlates to a massive drop in self-esteem. And if you're one of the lucky few that actually comes out the winner in your social comparisons, having concluded that you are smarter, better looking, stronger, and more successful than your peers, congratulations, you are very likely to become a conceited douchebag. It's in the research. I've left some links if you're interested. But that's not the only negative effect. Studies have also suggested that social comparison stifles collaboration and teamwork, hinders people from accomplishing their goals, and discourages creativity. So, yeah, bad things. Now, please don't get me wrong, I often look to my heroes and to my peers as a source of inspiration and hope and an example to follow. But this isn't the same thing as social comparison because social comparison always generates a winner and a loser. Now, Theodore Roosevelt is my favorite of a few people on the internet who have been credited with saying, comparison is the thief of joy. And as I think about the statement, I'd have to say that that is for the most part true. When I first got my car, I loved it until I started looking at nicer ones. And there are always nicer ones. Recently, I had a conversation with a guy about a trip I had taken to Tennessee. As I was telling him about all the wonderful experiences I had and the things that I saw, he kept one-upping me. Well, Florida's much nicer. It's got all the same things, only better. Finally, I just said, can't they both be good? The answer is yes, they can both be good. The problem was that he had generated a competition where there really wasn't one. What's better, the Smoky Mountains or the Bayou? Go. You can't, how would you even? For me, it's encouraging to know that most of life is not a competition. And when we treat everything like it is, all we do is erode our satisfaction and contentment and enjoyment in the things and experiences that we have, in the people that God has placed in our lives, and even in the uniqueness of our very selves. And most of the things that we choose as comparison models are inaccurate, unstable reference points anyway. If we want an accurate self-evaluation, we have to look to something more stable than a U-Haul. We need to find something that is true and immovable and timeless. I have a suggestion. Jesus, next to whom we all fall abysmally short, but through whom we have limitless value. Josh, I love you, but not as much as I love Ben. I'm kidding. I love you both in a unique and special way, you quirky animals. And anyone else watching, well, I guess I love you too.